And now that I create the handle, I'm going to the left side, wireframe, and once again I'm gonna select this face that I want to create this pouring part. So I'm going to select this and also this part. Okay, I select this part, and now like the handle, I'm going to add inset. But let me look at my object first. Okay, I'm going to add inset by using the inset, back to the -y, and move it out a little. Okay, so now this part is a little more tricky because you need to extrude the shape and turn it to something like this. Okay, so I'm going to extrude and move it here, and also press R for rotation, and then use, and for now just bear with me and follow from the top part. I'm going to use E and R to follow the line that I write. So once again, E, R, and E, and okay, now that I created this shape, you can see that it's really so much out of the shape, but we can scale it to create this part. At first glance, you may think that, okay, I'm going to vertex mode and move this vertex like this, but it's really not efficient because every time you use a single vertex to move, it's going to change the shape of the whole object, and it's better to use a scale for the shapes that have symmetry and smooth. So I'm going to select this only loop. Okay, I selected loop, and you can use the active element scale for scaling this kind of object, and we talked about active element before. Every time you want to scale something based on one vertex, for example, you can select on one vertex, deselect it, and select it once more, and if you look closely you can see that the vertex is gonna be white. So if I go to the here and select active element, it's gonna scale. Let me show you by default. By default, if I use a scale, you can see that this is how it's gonna scale. But if I activate the active element and use a scale, it's gonna scale around this vertex. So I'm going to press S and scale it around this vertex. Okay, and once again I'm going to select this edge, select this loop, and select this vertex, and once again I'm going to -y, press S to scale it toward this vertex. Once again I select this loop, deselect vertex, select top vertex, and that's the reason why I told you to only follow the top of this shape to create your teapot. So -y, I select the scale. Oh, let me activate the wireframe. Select S, use the S or a scale tool to scale it like this. And for this, I can select both of them and deselect and select, back to the -y, and use S one more time. And I can also use the R for rotation and then S for scale. And I can also add one more edge at the here and select this top vertex, back to -y, and scale it, and press double G to sliding it to the here, and once again use S for scaling. And now if we look at our object from the solid view, you can see that it's really close to the shape that I want. And if you think that, for example, this part is a little smaller than what it need to be, you can select the loop, deselect this vertex and select it once more and scale it along the Y. S, Y. Once again, I select this loop, deselect, select. This time I'm going to scale and select it along Y. And also this one. Okay, and now if you want to, let me delete this drawing line. And if you want to flatten this shape, you can right click, loop tools, and flatten this. But for now, our shape is not really smooth, because if we look at this shape, it's really smooth, but my shape is sharp in here. So for smoothing my part of the object that I need, I can select all of these by shift and select in face mode, shift and select on one edge. It's gonna select the loop perpendicular to the edge that I selected. So I selected this one, I selected this one, or I can go to the wireframe and select all of them together. And we have something called the vertex smooth, and if I select in the vertex selection, I right click and go to the smooth vertices, you can see that my vertices become smooth a little. But if you want to repeat the smoothness, you can go to the smooth vertices and increase the number of repeat. And every time I increase the number, you can see that my object is gonna become smoother. And this is really a useful tool for smoothing. And if we look at my teapot from the -y angle, we can see that some of this shape is gonna become smaller than my teapot. So once again, I'm going to select the stop point, go to the -y, go to the wireframe, and S, make it bigger. This one deactivated, activated, a scale to make it bigger. So once again, okay, and this part I think is need to move here, so I'm going to move it to here. I'm going to select this vertex once again, scale it, also use the Ctrl R to add one more edge, and deselect the top vertices, activate it again, and let me deactivate this vertex and scale it. Okay, and some of the things that I'm doing, I'm not gonna explain it that much because I already explained this, so sorry for not explaining it too much. And now I can right click, loop tools, flatten, and then inset and extrude inward. And be sure to not extrude it too much to make it out of your object. So I'm going to -y, wireframe, and moving it here, and also scaling it to making it like this. And this is the handle of our teapot. And this edge I think is need to be a little more wider, so I'm going to select this, select shift, select this, shift, select this, and scaling it along the Y, S, Y. and you can see that it's gonna scale around this edge. So I'm going to deactivate the active element. I'm going to bounding box. So SY, I think this much is enough. I select this one, SY, SY, SY to scaling it along Y. And you can see that it's become much more interesting. And if you want to create a, let me draw it. And if you want to this edge, you want to make it something like this. One of the techniques that you can use is from here, select all the vertex to here. Okay, go to the minus pi, active element, and my active element this vertex. And if I use the R, you can see that I can move this edge along this vertex and make my teapot a little more rounded. Okay, so for now I think it's enough.